Welcome to the Rotunda Report. I'm Peyton Conway. Our top story takes us to a historical night at Lancer Field, where the Longwood softball team swept the Virginia Tech Hokies in a doubleheader last night. With the victories, head coach Kathy Riley reached a new milestone, as she has now led the Lancers to an incredible 601 wins in her 19 years in Farmville. Riley entered this season as one of the winningest active coaches in all of Division I softball. Her team is now 21-15 this year and returns to Big South Conference play this weekend. Welcome to Sports with Rotunda Report. I'm Peyton Conway. On Wednesday, the Longwoods men's tennis team unfortunately had their last match as they fell 4-3 to Radford University in the first round of the Big South Conference tournament. While the softball team sits in first place in the Big South standings, Longwood's baseball team is making some noise of their own. Picked to finish 8th in the conference's preseason coaches poll, the Lancers are currently 3rd in the Big South. Coach Ryan Miles' ball club is starting to attract a lot of attention, especially after a hard-fought loss yesterday against 25th-ranked UVA. This weekend, Longwood welcomes Savannah State to Buddy Bowling Stadium for a 3-game series. If they're able to take away at least 2 games from the Tigers, the Lancers will have eclipsed last year's wins total with over a month still left in the season. On Thursday, over 80 male students participated in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion's 3rd annual Walk a Mile in Your Shoes event. The walk featured male students walking in high heels along a mile-long route in order to help spread awareness about rape and sexual assault, as well as support the victims of these crimes. Hey everyone, I'm Peyton Conway, and you're in Conway's Corner's Top 5 of the week. Starting off with number 5, during UFC's Fight Night in Tampa this past Saturday, Glover Teixeira showed he is still a major contender in the light heavyweight division after defeating former champ Rashad Evans with a first-round KO. After his victory, Teixeira quickly called out Anthony Rumble Johnson. At number 4, WWE wrestlers Connor of the Ascension and Adam Rose of the Social Outcasts have each been suspended for 60 days for their second violation of WWE's Talent Wellness Program. WWE's Wellness Program has a 3-strike system, with a 3rd strike resulting in the termination of the wrestler's contract. At number 3, Bray Wyatt suffered a calf injury during a match with Roman Reigns at a live event in Italy on Thursday and has been removed from the rest of the WWE European Tour. No word right now as to how serious the injury is. At number 2, former Bullet Club members Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows finally made their WWE debut last week on Monday Night Raw by demolishing the Uso brothers. With other Bullet Club member AJ Styles in the WWE, the question arises if fellow member Finn Balor will soon rise up from NXT to the main roster and start up the faction again. And at number 1, UFC 197 may have lost a bit of steam since Cormier dropped out, but it's still a chance to see if John Bones Jones is still the best fighter in the world as he faces Ovince St. Preux for the interim light heavyweight title this Saturday. The pay-per-view also features the co-main event of flyweight champion Demetrius Johnson versus Henry Cejudo and Anthony Pettis versus Edson Barboza in a lightweight bout. Ball team sits in first place in the Big South standings. Longwood's baseball team is making some noise of their own. Picked to finish 8th in the conference's preseason coaches poll, the Lancers are currently 3rd in the Big South. Coach Ryan Miles' ball club is starting to attract a lot of attention, especially after a hard-fought loss yesterday against 25th-ranked UVA. This weekend, Longwood welcomes Savannah State to Buddy Bowling Stadium for a 3-game series. If they're able to take at least 2 games from the Tigers, the Lancers will have eclipsed last year's win total with over a month still left in the season. Keep checking for updates at therotundaonline.com and follow us on Twitter at Longwood Rotunda. For everyone with the Rotunda Report, I'm Peyton Conway. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the sidelines. This past weekend was the biggest party on campus as the annual traditions of Band Fest and Spring Weekend took over the campus. For Spring Weekend, WMLU had musical artists such as Mammoth Indigo, Mims, Never Shout Never, and We the Kings. For Spring Weekend, Lancer Productions brought up 303 and Chase Bryant. I sat down with both 303 and Chase Bryant to talk about their respective careers. So you guys are kind of known as an outrageous, kind of crazy band. So what would you say is the most craziest thing you guys have done on stage?
Well, there's that one time that we can't really talk. I mean, under lawsuit, we're not allowed to talk about. It's too crazy. I don't know. We like to bring the party wherever we go. We like to have fun. I mean, we formed a band at CU, University of Colorado in Boulder, and I feel like whenever we come and play colleges, it's just kind of like brings us back to the essence of what the band is, which is really fun and party and all inclusive and hopefully just make people dance. So
You cite Conway Twitty, the late great Merle Haggard, Tom Petty, Vince Gill, and several others as your early influences. How have they influenced your music style?
Well, I think Conway Twitty was more of a live. He contributed more to the live show more because he didn't really talk a lot live. His thing was like, let's play the music and get the fans what they want to hear. Merle Haggard was like such an influence on songwriting and just that true blues, just kind of like whoever you are is what you sing about, you know. And so I mean, the later influences in my life were probably the guys that I, you know, referred to more when I was looking to write songs or perform or do whatever it was. Just because that's the music I listened to growing up. I didn't really listen to Top 40 when I was a kid and listen to those things. It was all, you know, it was all kind of the old school country and old school rock and roll, you know.
You've been a part of the Brantley Gilbert's Let It Ride tour and the Tim McGraw Shotgun Rider tour.
Yeah.
How were those experiences for you?
Well, Brantley was my first tour I'd ever done. I hadn't even had a single yet, and it was on a Thursday, and I got a phone call on a Friday that we had gotten a tour. I was in Seattle, Washington when I got that phone call. And then I got the Tim McGraw tour about a week later. Brantley was like the learning curve for me because it was my first big tour and never been stepped foot in arenas and played on big stages in front of tens of thousands of people. So I'd done that, and that was kind of like the learning curve. And then Tim, you know, I always say it's like you learn how bad you suck more than you learn how good you are, you know what I mean? Because you kind of got to have, like, you kind of got to figure out, okay, these guys have 35, 37 number ones, whatever it is, and they're killing it live, and the crowd's up. How do I get people off their feet with 2 hits, you know? So I'd say Brantley was like the learning experience, like learning, like getting your feet wet, and then Tim was like the learning curve, like how do I get to humiliate myself a little bit and then learn from it, you know? So Tim was, I mean, and Tim and Brantley are both really good friends too, and to me, and so I learned a lot on those tours, yeah.
Well, that's our top 5 of the week. Follow me on Twitter at Conway_Corner. I'm Peyton Conway, and we'll see you again when the bell rings.